not based on the human thing. Kind of said it, kind of stuff a couple times already. You've got a divine purpose set ahead for us. A different kind of goal. A different kind of life. Bless your word to our hearing and understanding in Jesus' name. Amen. You may be seated. It was about 2 weeks ago. I was not really paying attention. It was a shopper there. I was reading or something, and Sheila kind of caught my attention. The TV was on, and she said, I'm warning you right now. Husbands, when your wife says to you, I'm warning you right now, you need to listen. So I'm thinking, okay, what, you know how your mind goes, what in the world is she going to tell me? It's going to cost money, they're going to involve shoes, I don't know. I am going to watch the Olympics. So I had already said, okay, because she's the one that really likes those sporting events and the Olympics and the gymnastics and the swimming and all that stuff. You know, after about 2 minutes, it all looked the same to me. But, I know that there are a lot of you that enjoy the Olympics, keep track of the medal counts and things like that. And I remember as a kid, we would have the Olympics on, both the Winter and the Summer Olympics, back when they had them all in the same year. And they came on, some of those events came on during this time called Wide World of Sports. Remember? And you would hear the music for Wide World of Sports. You kind of come on, you get ready to watch those Olympics, and you see the little opening part where they talk about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. You would see Vinko Bogachov's ski crash all over the place, and that's the only reason we watched the beginning of that, to see that incredible. Over the past several years, apart from the actual competitions, we've become accustomed to watching the interviews, to getting involved in the different people, the different nations, and their stories. These athletes who experience both the victory and defeat, not only on the field or in the pool or on the ski lift and ski jump. I don't know if they go on the ski lift, but they experience victory and defeat in life. In the things that happen in their countries and the things that have happened in their homes. And that for us becomes part of the Olympics. Olympia in Greece was known as the home of the gods of mythology. And although nobody knows when the first Olympics were, they certainly go back at least to 300 years before Jesus. And they were first run as a religious festival to those mythological gods. Of course, we, as Christians, we believe in one true God. And although there are all kinds of sports mentioned in Scripture, it's really unclear as to whether or not God cares about sports. I know some of you pray really hard. But if God cares about sports, obviously his favorite has got to be baseball. Well, because the Bible starts off in the big inning. And hey, the Bible talks about the Royals and the Angels and their twins, and of course in Proverbs it mentions the Cubs. So if God has a favorite sport, it's baseball. Seriously, God probably doesn't care about sports. But sports imagery and illustration have often affected us. It's how we talk sometimes in sports, like, oh, touchdown. I stepped up to the plate. We don't even think about the fact that we're talking sports talk. The Apostle Paul occasionally uses the language of sports, as do other writers in the Scriptures. He uses sports. They use sports to help us with spiritual truths. And Jim McKay's voice in the opening moments of Wide World of Sports talked about the human drama of athletic competition. I think the Apostle Paul would appreciate that line, the human drama of athletic competition. You see, human life is not a game, but it is still a competition. It's not something to be toyed with, it's something very serious, but there's this struggle of competition in the Christian life, in the human life. And for the next several days, we will be hearing about the Olympic victories, there'll be medal counts, There'll be records set. There'll be nations rejoicing. Paul's words this morning, the words that Arlene just read, are intended for us to experience victory. That's why we opened the hymn this morning, Victory in Jesus. And if the word Olympics refers to the divine, then his intention is surely for us to experience Olympic victory. The city of Corinth was not too many miles, maybe a dozen miles from where the famous Isthmian Games were run. They're very much like the Olympic Games. It was a different kind of event for each place, and there was even a venue there in Corinth. Certainly, the people of Corinth, the church, they were familiar with all those kinds of sporting events, from wrestling to racing to whatever it was. And Paul himself seemed to know something about athletics, and there are assumptions that he may have actually gone to those Isthmian Games. That's hard to say, Isthmian. It's easy to say Olympic. So he may have gone to some of those games, and while he was at Corinth, he would know those people that were familiar with those games. And just like some of you folks enjoy talking with one another during downtimes about, sports or high school sports, we'll talk about the Thunder. Some of you will talk about your Oklahoma teams, whether it's the Cowboys or the Sooners or LSU. I'm not forgetting you back there, Lawrence. We talk about NASCAR driving. Sports kind of has invaded our lives, and we talk about it casually. I can imagine then that Paul himself and those folks at Corinth from time to time would talk about those games that were local, that were being run there, especially given the fact that he'd spent some time there, considerable time. And so he poses this question to them in his letter. It's a question that is the very most basic in the world of sports. And even if you didn't know anything about sports, you're going to know the answer to the question. Look again at verse 24. Do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but only one receives the prize? Well, of course we know the answer to that. We're taught that competition as children. When we start talking about race, that word itself can kind of come up kind of funny. In fact, because it's such a touchy word, when I thought this is the honest truth, you're not going to believe me, that it's the honest truth. Unless the forms and documents I fill out are super, super important, and that I might have to be dragged into court because of them, that little part of a box that says name and address and social security number, when it gets down to race, I always put the 500-yard run or the Indianapolis 500. I have not been called by any banks or any other companies or church camps to try to figure that out. So I don't know if they're not reading it or they just go, oh no, that's Kalfas, Race is a funny word. The word itself in Greek means stadium, which is where we get our familiar word stadium. It literally means a measure of distance. Stadium. You'll read that in King James. About 200 yards. And there's the stadium is there about 200 yards playing field. People in a race are going to run. And there's going to be a winner. That's basic sports fact. We know that. We hear that growing up. The Corinthians know that Paul has not gotten off the subject and has just decided to talk about sports. They know that Paul's words about racing are really words about the Christian life. He's not on a sports tangent. So he moves quickly from a basic sports fact to a command. Look at the second part of verse 24. Run in such a way that you may win. It's imperative. He's telling us something to do. Run in such a way that you may win. That phrase is the theme of this whole passage. Paul no longer wants us to pretend that we're watching a race and trying to figure out how it's going to end. He wants us to realize that we ourselves are the runners. Maybe you don't run anymore. I understand that, but we're the runners. And he's basically saying, if you are in a stadium and you are on the field and you're wearing your little colored shorts and your running shoes and you're in the lane and you're set on the mark, you're going to run. And if you're going to run, then you might as well run to win. We try to kind of pad and protect our kids. We don't want the kids to feel bad. And so We have these little competitions at Vacation Bible School, or we have little kind of things that take place where all these little kids are trying to compete against each other. They say, who won, who won, who won? And the good youth pastor, the good children's pastor, the good pastor will say, you all are winners. You're all winners. That kind of satisfies the kids, not at all. They want to know who won that thing. And we try to say, you're all winners. Well, what we're trying to say is that, we're all equal and that God loves us all. But the truth is, even though we may all be winners and equal, because God loves us all and made us special, when it comes to almost everything in life, if you want to win, you can't just sit around and wait for winning to happen. Winning comes by hard work. Or cheating. Winning comes by hard work. And that's what I like about the way the Apostle Paul uses this illustration. He doesn't just say, go out there and run. He brings the illustration into reality. Look at verse 25. Everyone who competes in the games exercises self-control in all things. They then do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. Everyone who competes in the games exercises self-control in all things. The phrase competes in the games is one word in Greek, and it means to enter into a contest, to contend, to struggle with difficulties and dangers. It's the Greek word, agonizomia, where we get the English word agony, agonize. To compete, to struggle, to contend. Yes, agony, anguish, pain, violent struggle. Amen. Glad to hear about that today. When we talk about a competition, we think, that kind of sounds like fun. A race sounds like fun. The games sound like fun. But to contend and to struggle, to agonize. That is the word Paul is using about this race we are running. If you want to win, there's going to be hard, anguishing work. Winning requires discipline, even for the best athletes. Sometimes you watch a game of some sort, football, basketball, the Olympics, and you'll hear about some of the training. You'll hear about some of the crazy things people do to train, to better themselves, to make their bodies stronger. You hear about the foods that they give up and the foods that they continue to eat to get their bodies ready to train. Got a pastor friend, Jim Williams. So you know Pastor Jim. Jim Williams has diabetes, and he doesn't take medicine because he's able to run it off. He's been very strict at how he runs. He's getting ready, I think in a couple of months, to run 100 miles. He wants me to come out with him. I said, I'll come out in my car. Exactly, Daryl. I'll come out for a couple of miles and ride behind you. Woo, down. He's been practicing a little longer than I am. Running 100. Plus, I've got these bad knees, so I'm not expecting to go out there. Think about Christian, when Christian was running in the Chicago Marathon, about how he would tell me how he had to practice before those runs, and how many miles they put in, and then increases until they get there. The things that you have to eat and not eat. It's a big deal if you want to win. Now Christian really was a dead set on it. He just wanted to run it. But if you really want to put it all into it, there are certain things we have to do, and that's discipline, self-control. For the Istanbul Games, the athletes were going to enter the games. They were required to participate in this very strict training that required working out and exercise and abstaining from certain foods. And if they broke the requirements of training, they could be disqualified for the race. And just as Paul has pointed our eyes to the runner, and then pointed to us saying, you run. So now he's pointed our eyes to the runner's training and self-control. And then he says to us, not only you run, you train. You folks need to train. You need to get in shape. You need to be careful with what you do as you prepare for the race. Robert Scott Nash writes, discipline is essential for successful athletes, especially the discipline of abstaining. Now, I'm a real big on context. Paul just doesn't bring in this sporting adage to help us see a bigger picture. He's talking to the Corinthian situation. As you studied about the church at Corinth, you know how selfish they were. All about God's grace. They said, oh, in God's grace, I can do anything I want to, even if it offends somebody. And so they would go out and they would just eat everything inside, even this meat that was sacrificed to idols. Not that there's any real idols or other gods in the world, Paul is saying, but you're just out there to show what you can do. Put yourself first and being selfish to everybody else. And Paul says, isn't it best for you maybe not to eat that meat? Because it offends your brother, because it shows that you're just doing things your own way. And so abstaining for that particular churchman, actually trying to abstain from certain things to eat because it was bringing a brother or sister down, keeping them away from Christ. And it was making them selfish. Earlier in chapter 9, Paul had shown the Corinthian Christians by example that although he had certain rights as an apostle, he gave those rights up because it was the right thing to do, even though he claimed them. He showed them that he gave up his freedom by becoming a slave to them, and now he shows them and us the self-control of giving up some things in order to be victorious. What are we giving up? He says it clearly, because he knows that there are some things that we just don't want to give up. We're content. We like this stuff. We want to do this stuff. And I've got it right. It's not wrong. Some of that stuff's not wrong. A few weeks ago, we focused on the problem of selfishness. It's about looking out for number one. And part of selfishness is holding on to a right that says, this is my life. I can do whatever I want to do because Jesus loves me. And then what follows is that we seek the pleasures of an earthly life. One of the cartoons that always sticks in my mind, and it probably is 40 years old now, a little picture of Garfield. It came out near the end of November, early December. And the first frame and the second frame has Garfield kind of in his bed, a little cozy little bed there. He says, gimme, 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 gimme. The last frame says, I'm getting ready to be in the Christmas spirit. Gimme, 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 gimme. And you know what? That fits every aspect of how some of us want to live. I don't mean to offend somebody else, I'm going to do things my way. And so we pile on a plate of selfishness. Instead, we need to be people who abstain from some things. Just as abstaining from certain foods and in its place exercising attribute to a runner's success in our Christian lives, we need to replace that which hinders us with a spirit of self-control. We need to replace that which hinders us with a spirit of self-control. I don't know about you, but there are some things in your life, I can guarantee it, there are some things in your life that you know you need to do. Maybe bad habits. Maybe certain things, maybe they aren't bad, but you're just doing too much of this or not enough of that, you need to do it. Sometimes they're sinful things. But in order for you to progress and be strengthened as a Christian, you know in your heart, you need to give them up. Because if you don't, they'll pull us down. If you have your Bible, open to Hebrews chapter 12. Some of us remember Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. We hold on to certain aspects of that wonderful passage. Let's just look at chapter 12, verse 1 for a minute. Focus on one line of that. In Hebrews chapter 12, the writer of the Hebrews, we don't know who he or she was, writes this. Therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us also lay aside every encumbrance and the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Let us lay aside every encumbrance. Everything, not necessarily sinful things, but everything that kind of hangs itself up on us. And the sin which so easily entangles us. And let us run with endurance. I don't want to be tangled up if I'm going to run. I want to lay aside everything that's going to get in my way of running. So we have to give certain things up, abstain from things, and exercise the Christian way. Just as Paul makes us realize that the runner doesn't want to be disqualified for losing his record, and that Paul himself, doesn't want to be disqualified in his ministry for lacking self-control. He insists that we strive for that self-control so we aren't disqualified for being the kind of Christian God wants us to be. And, you know, if we are content to just be saved so we can get to heaven, we're kind of missing out on the life that God has for us. You know, we want to get to heaven. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We want to get to heaven, but if we're just going to, I just want to be just saved enough so that I can get to heaven, we're missing out on the challenge and wonder of winning the race. Verse 24 told us that only one receives the prize. And the word receives is the Greek word lambano. The word for win is kata lambano, and it means to lay hold of, to seize, or to take possession of. The prize is a pretty big deal to us. The prize is important because it shows accomplishment. Look again at verse 25, the second part of verse 25. They then do it. Do what? They exercise self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath. But we, an imperishable. The prizes that the runners of the games took possession of were important to them. The prize is the mark of victory. It is. If they won the prize, they would receive some great honors. Some of them sometimes got free meals for life. Imagine free meals for life. Often they put a memorial up on a building. Sometimes they made a statue in their honor. But the prize that was most sought after, because it was given to them in front of all, it was given to them upon their accomplishments, was this wreath, the crown. The word wreath is Stephanos. It's where we get the name Stephen. Sometimes it's translated crown. It's also the word used for Jesus' crown of thorns. In our passage this morning, the crown was a perishable wreath. That's what Paul called it. It was made out of laurel or parsley or celery. Can you imagine wearing that kind of stuff on your head? And even though I'm not so sure that the prize was a pathetic crown of withered vegetables, one theologian says, certainly that green prize did not stay green long. And it did wither. It was useless for anything but a recognition of accomplishment. Even now, whether it's a golden-plated bowling trophy, a World Series ring, or an Olympic gold medal, prizes of the world are only temporary. Prizes of the world are only temporary. You know, the quizzers the last few years, once in a while they win a prize, a little trophy, a little plastic trophy, gold-plated. You know, we hold it up for a while. We're kind of proud because they accomplished. More important than the quizzers winning is still a prize. It's the fact the Word of God is going inside of them, hopefully helping them to learn the more important things about life. Because earthly prizes really don't matter all that much. The victory of the Christian is not measured in earthly prizes. It is measured in eternity with Christ. We still talk about our prize in terms of the crown. You know, you hear people say, oh, you know, she's putting another jewel in her crown when she goes to heaven. I think the way Scripture would say it, maybe putting another leaf in the crown when we get to heaven. I don't think there's going to be a real crown that we're going to wear when we get there. We were created not for temporary things. We were created to be eternal beings. We were not meant to settle for temporary things, earthly victories, trophies, and prizes that you can see. We were meant for eternity. Are you aware of that? You were meant forever and ever and ever and ever. Not just your 65 years, not just your 85 years, not just your 110 years. We were meant to be with God forever. Why then do people, even Christian people, why do we spend so much time focusing on things that don't matter? Seriously. We get tied up in our money. We get tied up in our job. We get tied up in our relationships. Now, some of those things are important, and we need to honor those things. But they don't measure us. For we were created for them. We were created for eternal things. The idea of a future eternal promise should really make us rethink how we live in the present. That if we could just wrap our minds around the fact every day that we're only on this earth for a few years, that gives us this wonderful feeling of the power of God at work in us. It makes us want to live a life that's eternal. This is not intended to say that we are competing with one another just because one wins the prize. And then, okay, we're all going to race, but only Ruth Walkley is going to win the prize because she won the pack. No, we're to put our best into it. We're really competing not against one another. We're competing with the race of the world. The things that are trying to ensnare us and bring us down. We are supposed to be people to show us that we should have a bent on winning. There's a lot of talk these days about participation trophies. You know, it's been kind of a frustrating thing, for some parents. In fact, there was a commercial not too long ago, a few months ago, great commercial of this guy going back to his car with his son after winning, I think, a soccer tournament. His son's team has obviously won, but all the players from both teams got the same trophy and said participation. And so this father is looking at it, he's thinking through the process. These kids tried their hardest. They broke their backs to win. They were on the ball. They did what they were supposed to do. They scored the most points. They didn't just participate. And so before he gives the trophy to his son, he scribbled off participation and puts champion. God made us not to be participants, but to be champions. We were not designed merely to participate. We were designed to win. I want you to say, I was designed to win. Say it. I was designed to win. Oh, come on. I was designed to win. I was designed to win. Woo! I didn't mean to get all Joel Osteen on you there. Winning is what God has for us. Winning is the process. Winning takes our entire lives. Self-control, discipline. I want you to turn to Philippians chapter 3. That's not Philippians chapter 3. There you go. The Apostle Paul taking up a metaphor again. Kind of likes that racing metaphor. Look at verses 12 and 13 of Philippians chapter 3. He says, not that I have already obtained it or have already become perfect, but I press on so that I may lay hold of that for which also I was laid hold of by Christ. Brethren, I do not regard myself as having laid hold of it yet. But one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. I haven't gotten there yet. He's saying, I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm going to win. Let me tell you, the world will probably tell you, you're not going to win. You're going to fail. I've watched you fall before. I've watched your knees get skinned in this race. You're not going to win. I've seen you cheat on your diet. I've seen you not work out with as many reps in this race of Christianity. You're not going to win. Oh, you don't own that reason, brothers and sisters. But God made you an eternal being. You were designed to win. You are going to win. We must not become a people who are satisfied merely to just live. Just settle for temporary highs, for the moments of an earthly life. Living our lives with our focus on Christ pulls us out of the temporary and places us into the eternal. Do not settle for anything less. Run the race. Run the race, but run the race to win. And God helping you, and His Word tells us, God helping you, we will win the victory. Let's praise His name this morning and sing hallelujah. Stand together.